The chandeliers inside the plaza glimmered like suspended galaxies, casting warm gold light across a ballroom packed with New York's most powerful. But Lauren Whitmore felt small, painfully small, as she stood beside her husband, Connor Hale, the man who once swore he'd protect her from every storm life could summon. Now, he was the storm. She was 7 months pregnant, one hand resting on her belly for balance, trying to steady her breathing. The gown she wore, soft champagne silk, had been chosen carefully to help her blend into the glamorous night. Instead, she felt like a spotlight was burning directly through her. Connor hadn't touched her hand once, hadn't looked at her, hadn't even acknowledged she existed. "Don't stand so close," he murmured through clenched teeth as donors gathered around them. "You're making me look sloppy." The words sliced faster than any knife. Lauren felt her throat tighten. She forced a shaky smile toward the guests, pretending she hadn't heard him. Pretending her heart wasn't splintering right there on the ballroom floor. Connor turned to the crowd, voice booming with charm. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming." He looked polished, magnetic, but then he angled the microphone away and hissed, "And try not to waddle when you walk. It's embarrassing." Laughter rippled around them from guests unaware of the cruelty unfolding inches away. Lauren's vision blurred. The room became a swirl of champagne glasses, glittering gowns, and whispered judgments. She felt the ache building behind her ribs, the kind of ache that warns a person they are seconds from breaking. Then Connor did the unthinkable. He slid an arm around another woman, sleek, stunning, predatory, and introduced her as the real future of Haletech's public image. The woman pressed closer, smiling with practiced sweetness, and the guests, hungry for scandal, leaned in. Lauren's breath caught. Her pulse roared in her ears. She felt the humiliation rising like fire up her throat. And then, the double doors of the ballroom swung open. Every head turned. Conversations died mid-sentence. A shockwave of recognition spread like electricity. Because the man who walked in wasn't just anybody. It was Maxwell Whitmore, her father. And he did not look amused. The silence inside the plaza after Maxwell Whitmore's entrance was so sharp, so sudden, that Lauren felt it slice straight through her trembling chest. She should have felt relief, knowing her father was finally here, yet all she felt was dread. She wasn't ready for him to see her like this. Not fragile, not humiliated, not broken. Connor, however, recovered quickly. He always did. He flashed a grin so artificial it practically glowed under the chandeliers. "Maxwell," he said loudly, as if greeting royalty. "What an honor to see you here tonight." But Maxwell didn't look at him, not even a glance. His storm-gray eyes locked onto Lauren, sweeping over her face, her pale lips, the stiff way she held herself. His jaw tightened. That single reaction, quiet, controlled, dangerous, terrified Lauren more than any raised voice ever could. Connor moved closer to Maxwell, undeterred. "If I'd known you were coming, I would have arranged a proper welcome. Haletech and Whitmore Holdings could do great things together, you know." Lauren closed her eyes for a moment. Connor wasn't just tone-deaf, he was blind. Blind to her pain, blind to the tension suffocating the room. Blind to the fact that Maxwell Whitmore was not a man who tolerated disrespect toward family, even when he didn't openly show affection. "Lauren," Maxwell finally said, voice low but resonant. "Step over here." A command, not a request. Her breath quivered. She tried to move, but Connor's hand clamped around her arm. "She's fine where she is," he said with a soft chuckle, as if Maxwell were merely an impatient guest. "Pregnancy hormones, you know how it is." A stunned murmur rippled through the crowd. Maxwell's eyes dropped to Connor's hand, gripping his daughter. They hardened into cold steel. Lauren gently pulled away, trying to keep her dignity intact, but Connor's fingers tightened. "Don't make a scene," he muttered under his breath. "People are watching. You embarrass yourself enough already." Maxwell took a single step forward. Just one. Yet it felt like the ground shifted beneath all of Manhattan. "What did you just say to my daughter?" Maxwell asked. Connor laughed, though sweat gathered at his temple. "Come on, sir." Lauren gets emotional. "She knows I'm joking. Right, honey?" He nudged her, urging her to agree. Lauren swallowed. The room blurred again. Every cell in her body begged her to stay silent, to avoid conflict, to avoid disappointing everyone like she'd spent her whole life doing. But then she saw it, her reflection, in one of the ballroom mirrors. A woman who looked exhausted, hurt, small. A woman who used to believe she deserved more. Lauren lifted her chin. No, she said quietly. He wasn't joking. Whispers exploded like wildfire. Connor's smile cracked for the first time that night. Lauren, he hissed, don't start. End quote. Maxwell turned fully toward Connor now, shoulders squared, presence expanding like a storm cloud ready to break. You humiliated her in front of 300 people, he said. And you dare put your hands on her? Connor paled. No one moved. No one breathed. Even the orchestra faltered. Lauren's heart pounded so violently she felt it in her throat. This was spiraling faster than she could process. She didn't want a war, not here, not now. But wars don't wait for permission. And then, as if fate wanted to ensure the night shattered completely, a cameraman from a financial news outlet stepped closer, microphone raised. Mr. Whitmore, he said, is it true your daughter is separating from her husband? The ballroom erupted. Lauren's knees buckled. And Connor? Connor finally snapped. Connor had always been a master of slipping out of uncomfortable situations, but not tonight. Not with cameras circling, investors whispering, and Maxwell Whitmore watching him like a predator measuring whether to strike. The pressure pressed against him, cracking the polished mask he wore so effortlessly, and into that crack stepped a woman who made the entire room shift. Sienna Carter, Hailtech's PR director, glided forward in a midnight blue gown that shimmered under the chandeliers like a knife dipped in starlight. She moved with purpose, confidence, and the smug air of someone who believed she had already won long before the game began. Connor, she purred softly, placing a perfectly manicured hand on his arm. Don't let them rattle you. People always twist what they don't understand. Her voice dripped sympathy. Her smile dripped poison. A ripple of recognition moved through the crowd. This was the woman they had all heard rumors about. The one seen leaving Hailtech at midnight wearing sunglasses. The one who always hovered too close to Connor during press events. The one who now dared to stand beside him beside Lauren during a public scandal. Lauren felt her lungs tighten. Her baby shifted uneasily, mirroring her distress. She pressed a hand to her belly, grounding herself, but the hurt throbbed hot beneath her skin. Sienna's gaze slid to her with calculated sweetness. Oh, Lauren, she said with faux innocence, you really shouldn't stress yourself tonight. It's not good for the baby. You know how fragile pregnancies can be. Maxwell's eyes narrowed. Even he, a man known for restraint sharper than steel, looked like he might combust. Connor straightened, emboldened by Sienna's presence. This is a misunderstanding, he said loudly to the cameras now clustering around. Lauren is overwhelmed. Pregnancy can affect judgment. Judgment. The word slapped her. Lauren tasted copper on her tongue as she bit back the shame swelling inside her. She had endured Connor's private cruelty, but public rewriting of reality? That was a violation she hadn't prepared for. A reporter leaned in. Mr. Hale, are you saying your wife is emotionally unstable? Connor hesitated. Sienna didn't. She's been under a lot of stress, she inserted smoothly. Connor does everything he can to support her, but she insists on creating scenes. The room gasped. Lauren felt heat rise in her chest, anger, humiliation, grief twisting together into something sharp and dangerous. Connor squeezed Sienna's hand just a little too tightly. That was all it took. Maxwell stepped forward. Enough. His voice sliced the air like a blade. No one speaks about my daughter like that. Sienna's smile wavered for the first time. Mr. Whitmore, with respect. You have none, Maxwell snapped. Not for my daughter, not for yourself. Connor tried to recover. You're overreacting. No, Connor, Maxwell cut in. You crossed a line. Eyes turned, cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. Lauren felt herself trembling again, but this time, it wasn't fear. It was awakening. Connor opened his mouth, likely to spin yet another lie, but a security guard from the plaza hurried forward, whispering urgently into Maxwell's ear. Maxwell's expression darkened instantly. He looked at Lauren, then at Connor, then at the guard. What is it? Lauren whispered, heart pounding. The guard hesitated, glancing nervously at the crowd. Sir, we need to discuss this in private. It's regarding the parking level. There's been an incident involving Mr. Hale's vehicle. Connor stiffened. Lauren's stomach dropped. What kind of incident? Connor demanded. The guard swallowed hard. One that changes everything. The tension in the ballroom thickened as the security guard's words echoed like a warning bell. Lauren felt the energy shift. People straightened, leaned in, whispered. Connor's jaw clenched so tightly a muscle ticked beneath his skin. Beside him, Sienna stiffened, her hand slipping discreetly from his arm. Maxwell's voice remained dangerously calm. "If this concerns my daughter's safety, I want the truth. Now." The guard hesitated, torn between protocol and the sheer force of Maxwell Whitmore's authority. Finally, he spoke. "There was a break-in at the parking level," he said quietly. "Someone smashed the window of Mr. Hale's vehicle and left something inside." Connor threw his hands up. "This is ridiculous. Probably some protester. Hale Tech is targeted all the time." But the guard didn't flinch. "It wasn't vandalism, sir. It was deliberate, precise, like someone wanted it to be found." A murmur rippled through the crowd. The camera zoomed closer. Lauren felt her heart thud against her ribs. Something about the guard's tone chilled her. Maxwell locked eyes with him. "Show me." "Of course, Mr. Whitmore. But I must warn you. What was left in the vehicle, it's sensitive." "Sensitive how?" Connor snapped. The guard swallowed. "It's a folder. Documents, photos, correspondence. All personal." Connor's face went white. Sienna's went whiter. Lauren felt the world tilt slightly. Her baby kicked as if sensing danger. Maxwell didn't waste another second. "We're going downstairs." "Lauren, come with me." Connor reached out instinctively. "She's not going anywhere. She's staying by my side." Lauren stepped back. "Don't touch me." Gasps fluttered across the ballroom. Connor's eyes darkened, the charming mask falling away. "You're being dramatic," he hissed. "Everyone's watching. Don't make a fool of yourself." But Lauren didn't feel foolish anymore. She felt something else rising, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Strength. Sienna slipped closer to Connor, whispering urgently, "We need to get ahead of this. Whatever they found, we spin it. Damage control. Don't let them walk off alone." But Maxwell had already turned, guiding Lauren gently toward the exit. As they moved through the stunned crowd, someone whispered loudly, "Photos? Could it be an affair?" Another voice chimed in, "I heard he's been funneling funds to a private account." And another, "Maybe it's both." Connor froze, fury blazing in his eyes. "You people have no idea what you're talking about." But even he could hear the desperation in his voice. Lauren didn't look back. Not until they reached the elevator. The guard pressed the button. The polished doors slid open with a soft chime. Maxwell helped her inside first. She leaned against the rail, breathing deeply, trying to steady her heartbeat. "Dad," she whispered, What if this is something awful?" Maxwell placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Then it's time the truth stops hiding in the dark. They have not." The elevator descended. Each floor they passed felt like peeling away another layer of her old life. The fear, the silence, the excuses she'd clung to for years. Finally, the doors opened to the dimly lit parking level. There, under the cold fluorescent light, Connor's luxury black SUV sat with shattered glass glittering across the concrete like ice. The back door was open. Inside, a thick manila folder lay on the seat. Lauren's breath caught. Maxwell stepped forward, reached inside, and picked it up. He opened it. His face changed instantly. From stern, to shocked, to furious. Lauren's pulse hammered. "Dad, what is it?" Maxwell lifted his eyes. "Lauren, these documents, they're about you." She staggered. "Me? Why?" He swallowed hard. "Because, sweetheart, your husband's been hiding something that could destroy you." Lauren had never seen her father's face look like that. Maxwell Whitmore was a man known for his composure, controlled, strategic, unshakably calm, even in boardrooms where billions shifted with a signature. But now his hands trembled slightly as he turned through the pages in the manila folder. He wasn't trembling from fear. He was trembling from fury. Lauren swallowed hard, watching him scan document after document, her pulse thundering through her ears. "Dad, what is it? Please just tell me." "Ends everyone." Maxwell inhaled sharply, almost as if the truth itself scraped his lungs. "These," he said tightly, "are reports Connor filed with a private investigator." Lauren blinked. Why would he hire?" "To dig into your past," Maxwell finished. "Your finances, your inheritance, your medical history, everything." Lauren's stomach dropped. "But he knows who I am. He knows I'm not involved in Whitmore Holdings." I told him I didn't want. You told him what he wanted to hear. Maxwell's voice hardened. These documents, he hired someone to confirm your net worth. And then he planned to petition for control over any assets tied to you before the baby arrives. The breath left Lauren's lungs like a punch. Control. Of her. Of the baby. Of everything she never wanted him to touch. The floor seemed to tilt beneath her. No, she whispered. He wouldn't do that to me. But even as she said it, she knew deep inside Connor absolutely would. The guard shifted uncomfortably. There's more, Mr. Whitmore. That's not the only thing left in the vehicle. Maxwell stiffened. What else? The guard pointed toward the passenger seat. A sleek black envelope rested there, the kind given by attorneys or financial institutions. Maxwell grabbed it immediately. Inside were bank statements, transfers, password resets, confidential contracts, all showing one thing. Connor had been secretly liquidating assets, accounts Lauren never touched, accounts legally shared. Money vanished into offshore holdings under a shell corporation. Lauren gripped the railing to steady herself. How long has he been doing this? Maxwell turned to her, voice low and lethal. Since the second month of your pregnancy. Her hands flew to her belly instinctively. Her baby kicked gently as if sensing her distress. He was preparing for the divorce before you even knew he wanted one, Maxwell said softly. He wanted legal leverage, custody leverage, financial leverage. A sound escaped Lauren's lips, half sob, half disbelief. He wanted custody? Maxwell nodded grimly. With control over your inheritance as the motivator. Lauren pressed both hands to her trembling mouth. Her heart felt like it was cracking, not from humiliation now, but from betrayal so deep she felt it in her bones. She had given Connor everything, her loyalty, her vulnerability, her future. He had been planning her destruction. Maxwell snapped the folder shut. We're leaving. You're not spending one more second near that man. But as they turned toward the elevator, the metal doors slid open, and standing inside was Connor, breathing hard as if he'd sprinted. His tie was loose. His expression frantic. Lauren, he said, voice cracking, listen to me. Whatever they told you, whatever they showed you, it's not what it looks like. Maxwell stepped between them. You're done speaking to her. You're done touching her. You're done. Connor ignored him, eyes locked on Lauren. Please, you don't understand. There's something else, something bigger happening. Lauren backed away. Bigger than betraying me? Bigger than stealing from me? Connor's eyes darted to the folder in Maxwell's hand. Then his voice dropped to a whisper, filled with panic. They're coming for me, Lauren. And if you walk away right now, you'll be in danger too. You don't know the whole story yet, but you're about to. Lauren stared at Connor, her pulse hammering as fear and fury tangled inside her. This was the same man who had humiliated her in front of hundreds, the same man whose betrayal was now documented in the folder, clutched in her father's hand. And suddenly he wanted to act like they were on the same side? Maxwell moved protectively in front of her. You're done, Connor. Don't take another step. Connor lifted both hands, as if surrendering. Maxwell, please. I know how this looks, but you don't understand the situation I'm in. Oh, I understand perfectly, Maxwell snapped. You plan to financially gut my daughter and take her child. That's all I need to know. Lauren flinched at the phrasing. My daughter. It had been years since Maxwell said those words with any real emotion. Now they wrapped around her like armor. But Connor shook his head frantically. No, that was before things changed. He ran a trembling hand through his hair. Lauren, I swear to you, someone's been watching me, following me. Tonight's break-in, it wasn't random. Maxwell scoffed. You honestly expect us to believe you're the victim here? It's the truth. Connor's voice cracked. Somebody planted those documents to destroy me. Lauren felt cold air leak into her lungs. Something about the desperation in Connor's eyes didn't feel like acting anymore. His arrogance was gone, his charm cracked. He looked unraveled like a man on the edge. Who would want that? Lauren asked quietly, despite herself. Connor swallowed hard. People I shouldn't have trusted. Investors I thought were backing Hailtech. There were side deals, private ones. We promised them deliverables. Numbers. Results that we couldn't hit in time. Maxwell's expression darkened. Are you telling me Hailtech is falsifying data? Connor hesitated. Too long. Lauren felt her stomach twist. Not just from betrayal now, but from fear of how far this went. Connor? What did you do? I tried to fix it, he blurted out. I tried to keep everything afloat. If Hailtech collapses, those men don't lose investments. They lose millions they can't afford to lose. They're not men who forgive failure. Maxwell's gaze sharpened like a knife. Are you telling me you're entangled with people connected to organized crime? Connor's silence was answer enough. Lauren's breath hitched. Oh my God. Connor stepped closer, almost pleading. Everything I did, every transfer, every file, every move, it was to protect us. To protect you. They threatened to go after my wife if I didn't deliver. Your wife? Maxwell growled. The same wife you humiliated tonight? Connor flinched. Shame flickered across his features, but the fear drowned it instantly. Everything spiraled. I made mistakes, yes, but I've been trying to outrun something much bigger than one bad decision. Lauren pressed both hands to her belly. Her child kicked a reminder of everything she had to protect. If what you're saying is true, she whispered, then why humiliate me tonight? Why act like I meant nothing? Connor's voice broke. Because they were in the room. Two of them. Watching me, watching you. I thought if I created distance, they'd stop looking at you. I thought humiliation was safer than attention. Lauren staggered. Maxwell caught her elbow. Sweetheart, breathe. Tears welled in her eyes, not from heartbreak this time, but the horror of realizing she might have been a pawn in something she never saw coming. The guard stepped forward suddenly. Mr. Whitmore, Mr. Hale, you should look at this. I have a Zent. He held up a security tablet. Footage played. A figure in a hooded jacket approached Connor's SUV earlier that evening. They weren't rushing, not panicked, not sloppy. They moved with surgical precision. Then they turned slightly toward the camera. The face was partially visible. Lauren inhaled sharply. She knew that face. She'd seen it tonight, standing beside Connor, smiling, pretending innocence. Because the person who broke into the car, planted the documents, and set the trap was Sienna Carter. For a moment, the parking level fell into a silence so dense it felt suffocating. The only sound was the low hum of ventilation as the security footage replayed on the tablet. Sienna Carter, in her sleek coat and high heels, slipping into the dim garage like she owned the shadows. Lauren covered her mouth, eyes widening. She set you up, she whispered. Connor staggered back against his SUV, disbelief twisting across his face. That's impossible. Sienna wouldn't. She's been helping me manage the fallout. She's been sleeping with you. Maxwell cut in sharply, but not loyal to you. You chose someone who could destroy you the moment it benefited her. Connor looked like he'd been punched. His breath shook as he replayed the image again and again, each second carving deeper into his denial. The guard pointed to the timestamp. She entered the garage an hour before the gala. She knew exactly where your vehicle was parked. She disabled 2 cameras near the stairwell, but not this one. Lauren's chest tightened. If she wanted to trap him, why now? Maxwell answered without hesitation. Because taking down a CEO at the height of a public event creates maximum impact, maximum humiliation, maximum headlines. Connor's voice cracked. But why? Why would she betray me like this? Lauren stared at the footage, mind racing. Maybe she was never on your side. Maybe she was working with the investors you mentioned. If Hailtech collapses, someone else steps in. Someone they can control. Maxwell nodded. And a scandal involving your marriage, your finances, and your company would hand them everything they need. Connor closed his eyes, as if the truth weighed too heavily to bear. I thought she cared. She told me she believed in me. She said she'd help me fix everything. Lauren almost laughed, a soft, painful sound. She fed your ego, Connor. That's not care. That's leverage. He blinked rapidly, swallowing the reality he'd been too blind to see. The guard stepped closer. There's something else. When she planted the folder, she also left a tracking device under your car's chassis. Lauren stiffened. A tracker? On his vehicle? Yes, ma'am, the guard said. Someone wanted to monitor his movements, or set him up for something worse. Maxwell's eyes darkened. A setup this precise isn't about embarrassment, it's about control, and control turns into blackmail. Connor's voice faltered. Lauren, I swear, I didn't know. I didn't realize how deep this went. Lauren looked at him, truly seeing him for the first time, not as the man she married, but as a man who let his greed blind him. And you dragged me and our baby into this mess without telling me. He couldn't deny it. Not now. Not with evidence glittering across the cracked concrete like broken truth. Before anyone could speak again, the elevator dinged sharply. The doors slid open, and there she was. Sienna Carter, calm, composed, dressed in the same shimmering gown she wore upstairs, but now her eyes gleamed with something cold and unrecognizable. "Well," she said lightly, stepping out as if she were arriving to a photo shoot, "I guess the secret's out." Connor stepped toward her, fury shaking his voice. "Why? Why would you do this to me?" Sienna tilted her head, lips curving into a small, chilling smile. "Because, sweetheart, you were never the prize." Lauren froze. Maxwell's jaw tightened. Sienna's gaze slid to Lauren, unbothered, almost triumphant. "You were." Lauren felt her heart stop. She tried to speak, but Sienna lifted a hand. "And now," she added, voice dripping with something sharp and dangerous, "it's time you knew the rest. Because I didn't just set up Connor, Lauren. I've been watching you too." Lauren felt the air thicken as Sienna's words echoed, each syllable slicing through the cold parking level. "I've been watching you too." It didn't make sense, not yet. But everything about Sienna's calm posture, her steady breathing, her poised smile, told Lauren this woman had been preparing for this moment far longer than any of them realized. Maxwell stepped forward. "If you think you're intimidating my daughter, you're making a very expensive mistake." Sienna didn't flinch. "Mr. Whitmore, with respect, your money doesn't scare me. I didn't come after Lauren because of fear." Her eyes slid to Lauren. "I came after her because she's the one thing standing in the way." "The way of what?" Lauren asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Sienna let out a soft laugh. "Your husband truly didn't tell you anything, did he? He kept you sheltered, polished, tucked away like a pretty accessory." Then her smile sharpened. "Connor was supposed to quietly step aside from Hailtech. A new CEO was already chosen. But your little pregnancy announcement ruined the timeline." Lauren blinked. "What does my baby have to do with anything?" Sienna arched a brow. "Everything. Investors don't like instability. A pregnant wife, a fragile marriage, a looming inheritance, it makes you a liability. And Connor refused to cooperate once he realized he could negotiate using you." Connor looked stunned. "I didn't, Sienna. I never." "Oh, stop pretending," she snapped. "You wanted leverage over Whitmore Holdings. You thought tying yourself to Lauren's child would make you untouchable. Entrester." Lauren's world spun. "He used my pregnancy?" Sienna shrugged. "For someone who insults your intelligence, he relies on it a lot." Connor turned to Lauren, desperate. "I made mistakes, but I never used the baby, Lauren, I swear." Sienna cut him off. "He did, but he wasn't smart enough to pull it off. That's why the investors turned to me instead." Lauren felt a chill pass through her. "You? What could you possibly offer them?" Sienna stepped closer, voice smooth as glass. "Competence, strategy, and no emotional ties." Her gaze flicked to Connor. "He thinks he was betrayed tonight, but the truth is, he was obsolete months ago." Maxwell's voice dropped. "Dangerous. You orchestrated this entire setup so they could remove him?" "Not just remove him," Sienna grinned. "Destroy him, publicly, financially, permanently. A clean slate for the next phase." Lauren shivered. "And what does any of that have to do with me?" Sienna's expression softened, not kindly, but almost regretfully. "Because they don't just want Hailtech, Lauren." Her eyes locked onto hers. "They want Whitmore Holdings." Maxwell stiffened. "That will never happen. My company is protected." "Is it?" Sienna asked lightly. "Because I've already met 2 board members. Charming men, really. They seem very open to alternatives." Lauren felt the blood drain from her face. Sienna wasn't simply climbing the corporate ladder, she was planning a takeover. And Lauren was the key. "You tried to frame Connor," Lauren said slowly, connecting the pieces. "So he'd be forced out. Then you destabilize the Whitmore family through me. They get both companies." Sienna smiled. "See? You're smarter than he gives you credit for." Connor lunged toward her, fists clenched. "You won't get away with this." 2 more security guards rushed forward, but Sienna didn't move. She simply met Connor's rage with chilling calm. "Oh, but I already have," she whispered. "Because while you've all been down here," she lifted a sleek, vibrating phone from her clutch. "The board upstairs just voted." Lauren's heart stopped. Sienna smiled. Victorious. Hailtech has a new CEO tonight. Connor froze. Maxwell paled. Lauren whispered, "Who?" Sienna stepped forward. Graceful, lethal, unstoppable. "Me." Then she added, almost sweetly, "And that's only the beginning. Doh." And the parking level felt colder now, as if Sienna's announcement had sucked the warmth straight out of the concrete walls. Connor staggered backward, one hand gripping the edge of his shattered car door like he needed it to stay upright. "You?" he whispered, voice cracking. "You think you can run Hailtech?" Sienna smiled, the kind of smile that belonged to a woman who had never once doubted her own ambition. "Not think, Connor. I already am." She held up her phone. The vote was unanimous. "Every board member upstairs has signed. You're out." Connor looked like he'd been gutted. Lauren felt an unexpected heaviness settle in her chest, not sympathy for him, but a strange sense of closure. He had spent years making her feel small, unimportant, replaceable. Now he knew exactly what that felt like. But Sienna wasn't finished. She turned her gaze toward Lauren, studying her expression. "You're quieter than I expected. I thought you'd be celebrating." Lauren lifted her chin. "I don't celebrate destruction, even when the person deserves it." Sienna tilted her head. "That's what makes you so easy to use." Maxwell stepped forward, fury simmering beneath his controlled posture. "If your goal is to threaten my daughter, you're going to walk out of here with regrets." Sienna didn't even blink. "I'm not threatening her, I'm warning her." The guard shifted, unsure whether he should intervene, but Maxwell's subtle hand signal kept him back. Sienna continued, her voice dropping lower, colder. "You think this ends with Connor's downfall? You think the people who funded this want just one company?" Her eyes narrowed. "They want Whitmore Holdings. And they want it now." Lauren felt her pulse spike. "Why? What does any of this have to do with my father?" Sienna smirked. "Because your father's properties sit on several development sites that certain people want access to. And he's refused their offers. Repeatedly. Publicly. Embarrassingly." Maxwell's jaw tightened. "I don't negotiate with criminals." "That's exactly the problem," Sienna said. "So they went for a different approach. Strategy. Influence." She motioned toward the folder Maxwell held. "Your husband was plan A, but he's been disappointing." Connor lunged toward her again, but Lauren grabbed his arm before he could reach her. "Stop," Lauren whispered. "She wants you to lose control." Sienna's smile widened. "Smart girl. Thanks for watching." Then she stepped closer to Lauren, closer than any threat ever should. They moved on to Plan B. "And Plan B, my dear, is you." Lauren's breath caught. "Me?" "You're the weakness in the Whitmore empire," Sienna said softly. "Kind-hearted, overly trusting, desperate to prove yourself, and still clinging to a man who would have sold you for leverage." Lauren felt something cold slide down her spine. "They think you'll break," Sienna whispered. "They think you'll crack under pressure. And when you do, the whole empire collapses with you." Maxwell's voice thundered through the garage. "Over my dead body." Sienna shrugged. "Not necessary. Over the right scandal, perhaps." Connor suddenly jolted forward, eyes wide with realization. "The photos," he said. "The folder. The car break-in. You're not just sabotaging me, you're setting Lauren up." Sienna's silence confirmed everything. Lauren's voice trembled. "What are you planning to do to me?" Sienna stepped back toward the elevator, her heels echoing sharply. "Nothing," she said. "I don't have to." She pressed the elevator button. The doors slid open slowly, like the beginning of a nightmare. "With the chaos I just unleashed upstairs," she added, "your life is about to implode all by itself. Your father, your marriage, your reputation. The press is already circling." Lauren's heart pounded painfully. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," Sienna said, stepping inside the elevator, "you deserve to know the truth before the world turns on you." The doors began closing. "Good luck surviving the next hour, Lauren." Then, right before the doors sealed shut, she added, "It's already begun." Lauren barely felt her father's hand on her back as he guided her toward the elevator. Her heartbeat thudded so loudly it drowned out everything, the hum of fluorescent lights, the echoes of footsteps, even Connor's frantic breathing behind her. Sienna's final words kept replaying in her mind like a curse. "It's already begun." When the elevator reached the lobby, chaos crashed into them like a tidal wave. Reporters. Dozens of them. Cameras, lights, microphones, all crowding the elegant marble foyer of the plaza. Security struggled to hold them back as voices shouted over each other. Lauren, is it true you're separating from your husband? Connor Hale, are you being ousted from your own company? Mr. Whitmore, do you have a statement about your daughter's involvement in the Haletech scandal? Is Haletech collapsing? Is Whitmore Holdings next? Flashbulbs exploded like lightning. Connor cursed under his breath. Maxwell moved immediately, stepping in front of Lauren, shielding her with the authority of a man who had intimidated senators, bankers, and world leaders alike. Keep moving, Maxwell growled to security. Straight to the car. But when the doors to the street opened, things only worsened. Outside, a second wave of paparazzi surged forward. Lauren had seen media frenzies before. Her father was no stranger to headlines, but never had she been at the center of one. She clutched her belly instinctively as elbows bumped, cameras pressed forward, and questions were hurled like stones. Lauren, are you part of an insider trading scheme? Did you know about your husband's mistress? Is the baby safe? Is it true you're being used as leverage in a hostile takeover? Are you cooperating with investigators? Lauren froze. Cooperating with investigators? What did she mean by that? She whispered. She meant nothing, Maxwell said firmly. Keep walking. But Lauren's legs trembled. Dad, she said, this would implode in an hour. Sienna had this planned. Every camera here, every headline they're writing, this is what she wanted. Connor pushed forward, face pale as the flashlights washed over him. We need to leave. Now. If they get that footage to the investors before we can make a statement, Haletech. But a reporter's voice cut him off sharply. Mr. Hale, is it true the SEC is opening an investigation into your financial records? Connor froze mid-step. What? Lauren breathed. The reporter shoved a phone toward them, breaking news already spreading. Connor Hale, under federal review. Alleged asset diversion, connected to offshore accounts. Lauren felt her skin go cold. This isn't possible, Connor whispered. They promised me time. Who? Maxwell demanded. The investors? Or the men you owe? Connor didn't answer. They reached the black SUV waiting at the curb. Security hurried them inside, slamming the doors behind them as cameras continued to flash. Inside the car, silence fell thick and suffocating. Lauren turned to Connor. How long have you known this was coming? He rubbed his face, defeated. Weeks. Maybe months. I tried to stop it, but I didn't know who was pulling the strings. And then Sienna? She was one piece, Maxwell snapped. There's someone above her, someone orchestrating this. Body. Lauren swallowed, her throat burning. Sienna said, I'm plan B. That? They think I'm the weak point. Connor looked at her, then really looked at her for the first time in months. You were never the weak point, he said quietly. You were the shield. And that's exactly why they want you gone. Tears stung her eyes. Why me? Because, Connor whispered, destroying you destroys your father, and destroying your father gives them everything. The SUV sped through Manhattan traffic. Sirens wailed in the distance. Red lights reflected off the windows like warning flares. Maxwell reached for Lauren's hand and squeezed it gently. No one will touch you. Do you understand me? But before she could answer, her phone buzzed sharply. A text message. Unknown number. Lauren, I'm sorry. I tried to warn you earlier. They're moving fast. Check the news. Her stomach knotted. She opened the link. A live headline flashed across the screen. Breaking. Evidence surfaces, suggesting Lauren Whitmore knew about Haletech fraud. Lauren's breath stopped. Someone had used her name. Someone had used her signature. Someone was framing her. Connor stared in horror. Lauren, that's not real. You didn't sign anything. Maxwell's fury ignited like a wildfire. This is war. Lauren's phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. This time, only one sentence. They're coming for you next. The SUV sped through Manhattan, weaving between lanes, its tinted windows flashing with city lights. Lauren pressed her trembling hands against her belly, trying to calm the frantic fluttering inside. Her baby felt everything, every spike of fear, every jolt of panic. She whispered softly, "It's okay, sweetheart. Mommy's here." But she wasn't sure if she believed it. Maxwell was on the phone with his security chief, issuing orders with a tone she hadn't heard since she was a child. No one enters the building without clearance. Double security at the penthouse. Sweep the garage. No exceptions. A pause. And bring the lawyers. All of them. Connor sat hunched forward, hands clasped, staring blankly at the floor like the last of his defenses had collapsed. For the first time, he looked like a man broken not by Sienna, not by the board, but by his own choices catching him. Lauren forced herself to breathe. Why would someone send me that message? Who's trying to warn me? Connor didn't answer. Maxwell did. Someone inside the circle, he muttered. Someone who knows what's coming before it hits. Someone close enough to hear the orders, but clever enough to stay hidden. Lauren swallowed hard. A traitor with a conscience. Or buyer's remorse, Maxwell said. Either way, we'll use it. Just then, the SUV took a sharp turn. Lauren frowned. This isn't the way to the penthouse. If you want to do. We're not going home, Maxwell said. It's compromised. Lauren blinked in confusion. Compromised? How? Before Maxwell could answer, the driver spoke for the first time, his voice tight. Sir, your home security reported an attempted breach. 2 men tried to force entry through the service elevator. Lauren grabbed the seat. Were they caught? No, ma'am. They escaped before backup arrived. Her blood ran cold. Connor whispered. They're accelerating. They want leverage before the morning news cycle. Once the story breaks, Maxwell cut him off. It already has. The SUV stopped abruptly in front of a nondescript building in Tribeca, one of Maxwell's lesser-known properties. Unmarked, unlisted, a place meant for emergencies, not guests. Security ushered them inside quickly. The interior was stark, bare concrete walls, industrial lighting, steel doors. Lauren felt her anxiety spike. It didn't feel like protection. It felt like a bunker. Inside the safe house, Maxwell motioned her to sit. We'll keep you here until we identify the source of the leak and neutralize the threat. But Lauren's breathing grew uneven. Dad, they're saying I knew about the fraud. They're saying I was involved. His eyes softened. Just barely. We'll prove you weren't. But what if they create more fake documents? She whispered. What if they use my name against me again? They can't destroy what you don't sign, Maxwell promised. Connor shook his head. You don't understand. They don't need her to sign anything. They just need her to look guilty long enough for the stock to plunge and chaos to spread. That's all they want. Lauren's chest tightened. So I'm already a target. Connor nodded slowly. You always were. You just didn't know it. A heavy silence settled. Then, a faint beep echoed from the corner of the room. Lauren stiffened. What was that? One of the guards rushed to the security console. His face paled. Sir, someone bypassed the outer door sensors. Maxwell stood immediately. Impossible. This building is off-grid. The guard hesitated. Then whoever it is had the code. Lauren felt a chill creep up her spine. Footsteps approached from the corridor. Slow, deliberate, confident. Connor whispered, horrified. It's them. They found us. The lights flickered. The metal door handle began to turn. Maxwell pushed Lauren behind him, shielding her. The door opened. And standing there, not a criminal, not a hired gun, was someone none of them expected. Someone who should have been on their side. Someone who smiled like the betrayal was already complete. Hello, Lauren. We need to talk. Lauren's breath froze in her chest as the figure stepped fully into the room. For a second, her mind blanked. This couldn't be real. Not him. Not here. Ethan, she whispered. Ethan Ward, her father's longtime legal advisor, the man who'd helped Lauren negotiate her prenup years ago, the man who'd been at every Whitmore family dinner, every Christmas, every milestone. He'd known Lauren since she was 19. He'd been trusted. Maxwell's face hardened. What the hell are you doing here? Ethan shut the steel door behind him with a soft click. Too calm, too controlled. I told security I was expected, he said smoothly. They let me in. Dozen-ish. They shouldn't have, Maxwell growled. Speak now or be removed. Ethan raised both hands lightly. Maxwell, please, I'm here to help. Connor scoffed. Help? You walked through the door like a man delivering a funeral notice. But Lauren couldn't speak. She couldn't move. Something in Ethan's eyes, an unsettling steadiness, made her skin crawl. Ethan sighed and looked directly at her. Lauren, I need you to come with me, right now. Lauren stepped back instinctively. Why would I ever go anywhere with you? Because staying here isn't safe, Ethan said. Because every minute you remain in this building, the danger gets closer. Because the people coming for you. Maxwell cut him off sharply. How do you know who's coming? How do you know they found this location? Ethan hesitated for a fraction of a second. A fraction too long. Lauren felt the answer punch her in the chest. You told them. Ethan's jaw clenched. Lauren. You told them where I was, she said, her voice shaking. You let them breach the penthouse. You got the codes to this building. Ethan wet his lips slowly, choosing words. I did what I had to do. Maxwell stepped forward, eyes blazing. You've been on my payroll for 16 years. And I've been patient for 16 years. Ethan snapped back. You never trusted me with real authority. You made promises you never kept. You left me cleaning up the messes of your empire while you groomed heirs who didn't want them. His gaze flickered to Lauren, and one heir who didn't appreciate what she had. Lauren's pulse hammered. This is about envy? Ethan's expression cracked, revealing bitterness that must have been festering for years. This is about being overlooked, being underestimated, being the man who did all the work and got nothing. If you want a Deva, Connor muttered, so you joined forces with the same people who tried to destroy me. Ethan shrugged. They wanted access, influence, and I wanted what I deserved. Lauren shook her head, stunned. So you framed me? You helped them forge those documents? Ethan didn't deny it. Maxwell moved like a storm. You're finished, Ethan. You hear me? Finished. Ethan smiled, slow and chilling. You can't touch me. Not this time. He reached inside his coat. Security drew their weapons immediately, but Ethan pulled out nothing more than a single USB drive. This, he said softly, lifting it, is the real threat. Lauren felt her throat dry. What's on it? Proof, Ethan whispered, that you, Lauren Whitmore, authorized financial transactions linking Whitmore Holdings to Hailtech's offshore accounts. Lauren's knees nearly buckled. I know, Ethan said, but the digital trail says otherwise. He placed the USB on the table. You have 1 hour before these files go public. Unless... Lauren stared at him, terrified. Unless what? Unless you come with me, Ethan said calmly. Alone. Cooperate. Tell the press the transfers were your idea. Maxwell exploded. Over my dead. Ethan raised a hand. If she doesn't, the baby becomes part of the investigation. Lauren felt the world collapse beneath her. You wouldn't. I would, Ethan said quietly. They would. And it will be too late once the story breaks. End quote. Connor slammed a fist on the table. You monster. But Ethan only looked at Lauren. Choose, Lauren. Your reputation or your child. Lauren's heart pounded painfully against her ribs. She looked at her father, at Connor, at the guards. No one had an answer. No one could save her. She was trapped, cornered, out of time. Ethan extended his hand slowly. Come with me. Lauren stepped back. But before she could speak, the safe house lights suddenly went out. Total darkness swallowed the room. And then, a voice, not Ethan's, whispered from the doorway. Lauren, don't move. Darkness swallowed the safe house, thick and absolute, so complete that Lauren felt it press against her skin. One hand flew to her belly, instinctively protective. Somewhere to her left, Maxwell cursed under his breath. Connor stumbled against the metal table. The guards drew weapons, their movements tense and uncertain. And Ethan? His silhouette vanished the moment the lights died. Lauren's heart pounded like a hammer against her ribs. Dad? She whispered into the void. I'm here, Maxwell answered immediately, voice steady but tight. Stay behind me. The unknown voice spoke again, calm, low, close enough that Lauren felt the warmth of breath against her ear. Don't move. They cut the power, but I've got you. It wasn't a voice she feared. It was a voice she recognized. Elias, she breathed. A hand, gentle, reassuring, gripped her arm. Yeah, it's me. Elias Ward, her college friend. The one she once considered her closest confidant. The one who drifted from her life when she married Connor. The one she hadn't seen in almost 5 years. And now here he was, in the middle of a blackout, inside her father's secret safe house. Connor's voice echoed harshly. Who the hell is that, Elias? What is he doing here? But Elias ignored him. Lauren, listen carefully. You're being set up for something much bigger than tonight. Those files Ethan brought? They're real fake, but real enough to bury you. Her throat tightened, So Ethan really framed you, Elias finished. And he did it weeks ago. Tonight was the reveal. A faint hiss like metal sliding cut through the dark. Get down. Elias yanked her to the floor, just as gunshots cracked through the room. The walls sparked as bullets tore into them. Someone screamed, maybe a guard, maybe Ethan, maybe no one at all. Chaos erupted in the pitch black. Maxwell shoved Lauren behind a steel pillar. Stay low. Connor threw himself to the ground beside her. They're trying to kill us. Elias's voice called out over the noise. They're not here to kill you. They're here to extract someone. Who? Lauren cried. The answer came from the darkness, cold, cruel, unmistakable. Her. Ethan's voice. Lauren's blood froze. A click. A door opening. Footsteps. Elias swore softly. He's trying to take you. That's the plan. Lauren felt her stomach twist. Why me? Because, Elias said through clenched teeth, you're the bargaining chip. They know you won't survive prison. They know your father will do anything to keep you out of it. Gunfire erupted again. Connor shouted, Ethan's escaping. A flash of emergency lighting flickered on, bathing the room in a weak red glow. Shadows warped across the concrete floor. Through the haze of smoke and panic, Lauren finally saw Ethan sprinting toward the emergency exit, clutching the USB drive and a second folder she hadn't seen before. Maxwell charged after him, but Elias grabbed his arm. Don't. That's what they want. They want you separated. Let go, Maxwell snarled. He's not taking my daughter's future. Elias held firm. If you chase him, you'll die. He's not acting alone. Lauren's breath caught. Elias, how do you know all this? He hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Because, he said quietly, I should have told you years ago. I've been involved with the organization behind this. I left them, but they don't let people walk away clean. Lauren felt her heart drop. You were one of them? Elias's voice cracked not with guilt, but with regret. I never knew they'd come after you. I never knew Ethan would take my place. The emergency lights flickered again. Maxwell stared at Elias, stunned. Why should we trust you? Elias exhaled shakily. Because I'm the only one who knows how to stop them. A loud crash exploded from the exit hallway. Ethan was gone. And the sound that followed wasn't gunfire. It was a scream. Connor's face went pale. That sounded like one of the guards. Elias stood slowly, eyes cold and focused. They're inside the building. He turned to Lauren. Get up, we have to leave, now. She tried to stand, but her body suddenly stiffened. A sharp, twisting pain stabbed through her abdomen. Lauren gasped, clutching her belly. Elias, Dad, something's wrong. Another wave of pain hit harder. Her knees buckled, and when she looked down, a thin, terrifying streak of blood slid down her leg. Lauren's going into labor early. Panic tore through the safe house the moment Lauren's knees buckled. Elias lunged forward, catching her before she hit the concrete floor. Her breath came in short, jagged gasps. The red emergency lights washed across her face, highlighting the fear etched into every trembling line. Lauren, look at me, Elias said, his voice steady despite the chaos. How far along are you? 7 months, she whispered, gripping his shirt as another wave of pain shot through her abdomen. It's too early. It's too early. Connor swore loudly. She needs a hospital. Now. Maxwell knelt beside her, his composure cracking for the first time. Sweetheart, stay with me. Elias, what do we do? Can we move her? Elias's jaw tightened. We don't have a choice, but we have to be smart. If what I think is happening is really happening, they won't let her leave alive. Connor's eyes flared. What are you talking about? They want leverage, not murder. Elias shook his head grimly. Leverage only matters if the asset is intact, but if they think she'll expose everything, or that Whitmore Holdings is slipping out of their hands. Maxwell finished in a low growl. Then eliminating her creates chaos, and chaos gives them control. Lauren's pulse pounded in her ears, her breathing hitched. Please, she whispered, tears blurring her vision. Just get the baby out safe, please. Maxwell closed his eyes briefly, pain and fury crashing through him. We will, he vowed, gripping her hand. I won't lose you. As to A sudden clang echoed from the hallway, metal boots hitting concrete. Elias cursed. They're close. One of Maxwell's guards rushed in, blood streaking his sleeve. "Sir, there's more than one team. They're sweeping every floor." Connor looked around wildly. "We're trapped. There's no exit." "There's one," Elias said. "A service tunnel beneath the building. It leads to a maintenance shaft that connects to a loading dock across the alley." Maxwell narrowed his eyes. "You know this how?" Elias didn't sugarcoat it. "Because I used it to escape them once." Lauren moaned softly, gripping her stomach. Sweat beaded down her forehead. The pain was getting sharper, faster, too fast. "Elias," she gasped, "I don't think I can make it far." "You don't have to walk," he said. "Connor helped me carry her." For a heartbeat, Connor hesitated, then without argument, he moved beside Elias. They lifted Lauren gently between them, her arms draped around their shoulders. The guard checked the hallway. "Clear for now. Move." The group hurried through the dim corridor, Lauren's breaths shallow and uneven. Every step jarred her stomach, and fear clawed at her lungs. She whispered, "My baby, please, not now." Elias tightened his grip. "Just hold on. We're getting out." Behind them, another metallic crash shook the floor, followed by low, indistinguishable voices. Then footsteps. Fast ones. "They're coming," the guard shouted. "Go," Maxwell barked. Elias and Connor picked up their pace, carrying Lauren toward a heavy steel door at the far end of the hallway. The guard swiped a keycard and slammed his shoulder into the door. It groaned open, just enough for them to slip inside. The service tunnel beyond was narrow, damp, and suffocatingly dark. Elias whispered, "Stay quiet. They'll hear us if we're not careful." But Lauren couldn't stay quiet. A new contraction ripped through her, sharp and deep. She cried out despite biting down on her lip. Elias froze. Connor froze. The guard's eyes widened. From behind them, a voice echoed through the tunnel. Male, cold, familiar. Well, the voice drawled. "Looks like we caught up." Lauren's blood turned to ice. Because the man stepping into the tunnel, holding a gun, was the last person she expected. Her father's right-hand security chief. The man who had sworn loyalty for 20 years. "Going somewhere, Miss Whitmore?" The dim tunnel felt smaller the moment Maxwell's longtime security chief stepped into view, blocking their only path forward. His broad frame cast a long shadow across the narrow concrete walls. In his right hand, a matte black gun glinted faintly under the emergency lights. Lauren's breath hitched. A fresh contraction tore through her, forcing a quiet cry from her lips. Connor and Elias tightened their grip around her, but they couldn't hide the fear flickering in their eyes. "Eric," Maxwell said, voice low, deadly calm. "Put the gun down." Eric tilted his head slightly, as if surprised Maxwell expected obedience. "I'm afraid I can't do that, sir." "You've worked for me 20 years, Maxwell growled. "You've protected my family. My daughter trusted you." Eric's jaw tightened, but he didn't lower the weapon. "I did protect your family. For 2 decades, I gave you loyalty. But loyalty doesn't pay the bills. Loyalty doesn't get me a stake in Whitmore Holdings. Loyalty doesn't get me out of debt." His eyes flicked briefly to Lauren, only briefly, but the cold indifference there sent a chill through her spine. "Eric," she whispered painfully, "please, don't do this." A flicker of something human passed over his face, but only for a second. "Lauren, I'm sorry. I really am. But this goes beyond me now, beyond you. They want leverage, and you're the piece they need." Maxwell stepped forward, fury radiating off him. "You don't lay a hand on her." End quote. 200 and Brader. Eric raised the gun higher. "Don't force my hand, Maxwell." One of the guards behind them reached for his own weapon. Eric fired without hesitation. The bullet hit the wall inches from the guard's head, ricocheting violently down the tunnel. Concrete dust exploded into the air. "Next one won't miss," Eric warned. Lauren trembled. "Dad, stop." Elias shifted slightly, positioning himself between Lauren and the gun. "Eric, listen to me. She's in labor. She won't survive being moved across the city." Eric's expression didn't change. "Not my problem. They want her alive, not comfortable." Connor snapped, "You're delivering her to criminals." Eric shrugged. "Criminals pay better than Mr. Whitmore ever did." Maxwell lunged. Elias grabbed him instantly. "No, you'll get her killed." Eric's finger curled tighter around the trigger. The tension in the tunnel spiraled into a razor-thin wire, ready to snap. Lauren gasped as another contraction ripped through her harder, sharper, crueler. She nearly collapsed, her knees buckling. Connor held her upright, but panic was rising in his eyes. "Elias," Lauren choked out. I can't keep walking." Elias whispered urgently, "Just hang on a little longer. We'll get you out, I promise." Eric raised the gun toward her. "Time's up," he said. "Hand her over." "No," Maxwell snarled. Eric took a step forward. Then another. Gun aimed at Lauren's heart. And then, something shifted in Eric's eyes. Something snapped. Not hesitation. Calculation. He glanced briefly over his shoulder like he expected someone. Someone who hadn't arrived yet. Elias noticed the motion instantly. "He's not alone," Elias whispered. "He's waiting for backup." Eric didn't deny it. "They're coming. Once they're here, you're all outnumbered. Might as well make this easy." Lauren clutched Elias's arm. "Please, don't let them take me. If we die." "You're not going anywhere," Connor said fiercely. "Not with them." Eric sighed. "I really hoped you wouldn't fight this." He steadied the gun. A loud metallic clang echoed behind him. He turned. Too slow. A second figure appeared at the far end of the tunnel. A tall silhouette, moving fast, silent, deadly. Before Eric could react, the figure slammed into him from behind, tackling him to the concrete floor. The gun skidded across the tunnel, clattering to a stop near Lauren's feet. Lauren gasped, staring in shock. Connor froze. Maxwell's eyes widened. Elias whispered, "No, it can't be." The figure stood up, breathing hard, face coming into the dim red light, revealing someone none of them expected to see again. Not tonight. Not ever. Sienna Carter. For a full 3 seconds, no one moved. No one breathed. Sienna Carter's sleek dress torn at the hem, hair wild from running, blood streaking, her cheek stood over Eric's unconscious body like a fallen angel carved from razor blades. Her chest rose and fell sharply, adrenaline radiating from her as she kicked Eric's gun farther down the tunnel. Lauren couldn't speak. The pain in her abdomen pulsed harder, but shock momentarily eclipsed everything. "Sienna, what are you doing here?" Sienna's eyes flicked to her sharp, calculating, desperate. "Saving your life, obviously. Try to keep up." Connor exploded. "You tried to destroy us. You framed me. You framed her." Sienna rolled her eyes. "Yes, and now I'm unframing you. People change." Maxwell growled. "People don't change in an hour." "Oh, they do," Sienna snapped, stepping over Eric's body. "Especially when they realize the people they thought they were helping are planning to kill them next." Elias narrowed his eyes. "You're saying you didn't know they'd come after you?" "Of course I didn't," Sienna barked. "I engineered corporate takeovers, not assassinations. But once you help criminals consolidate power, they don't exactly let you walk off into a sunset." Lauren winced as another contraction rippled through her. Elias steadied her, whispering, "Hold on, just a little longer." But Sienna's gaze softened when she saw the blood on Lauren's leg. "How far apart are the contractions?" Sienna asked. Lauren gasped. "A minute, maybe less." "That's not good," Sienna muttered. "We have to move." Connor was still staring at her like she'd grown horns. "Why help us? Why help her?" Sienna stepped closer, voice dropping. "Because Ethan betrayed me, too." Lauren blinked. "Ethan?" Sienna nodded grimly. "He cut me out, fed me lies, told the investors I was turning against them. Lied to both sides so he could take everything." Betweens of tense. Elias swore under his breath. "Ethan's running this?" Sienna shook her head. "No, he's not the mastermind. He's the puppet who thinks he's pulling strings." She pointed deeper into the tunnel. "Real power is behind him. And they're already in the building." Maxwell stepped protectively in front of Lauren. "What do they want with my daughter?" Sienna's face changed, hardening with something like guilt. "Everything. They want the inheritance, the shares, the access. And they want Whitmore Holdings destabilized before morning." Lauren's voice wavered. "And the baby?" Sienna hesitated. "Collateral." The word hit Lauren like a physical blow. Connor lunged toward Sienna in fury. "You helped them target her pregnancy?" Sienna snapped back. "I didn't know they'd go this far. I thought we were weakening Hailtech, not starting a war." Another contraction tore through Lauren. She cried out, gripping both men beside her. Elias leaned down. "We're running out of time." Sienna nodded. There's an exit ahead, but it'll only stay unsecured for a few minutes. If we miss that window. Footsteps echoed behind them. Multiple pairs. Fast. Maxwell whispered, "They're here." Sienna's expression sharpened with urgency. "Move." They hurried down the tunnel, Connor and Elias carrying Lauren as carefully as they could. Sienna sprinted ahead, checking corners, scanning for ambushes. Gunfire cracked behind them. Concrete shattered. Lauren screamed as the sound ricocheted through her skull. Elias shouted, "Keep going." They reached a rusted metal staircase leading up toward the loading dock. Sienna leapt up first, motioning frantically. "Get her up here." Connor and Elias half lifted, half carried Lauren up the steps. Her breathing grew shallow, her face drained of color. "Dad," she whispered weakly. "Dad, I can't do this." Maxwell took her hand. "Yes, you can. Just a little more. To being death." But before they reached the top of the stairs, a shadow moved on the landing. A figure stepped into view, holding a weapon, aiming directly at Lauren. And when the emergency light flickered across his face, Lauren's heart stopped. It wasn't Eric. It wasn't Ethan. It was a man she had only ever seen in newspaper articles. A man known for making CEOs disappear. "Hello, Miss Whitmore," he said. "Your father sends his regards." "I take so." The man at the top of the stairs didn't shout, didn't posture, didn't threaten. He didn't need to. His presence alone, the calm stillness, the slow blink, the faint smirk on his lips, carried more danger than a dozen armed men. Lauren recognized him instantly. She'd seen his face on financial exposés, whispered rumors, investigative articles that never reached print because editors were warned to drop it. His name was Victor Hale, not related to Connor, but far more terrifying. He was the man the corporate underworld called a cleaner. The kind of man who erased obstacles. Lauren's voice trembled. "Victor, what are you doing here?" Victor tilted his head slightly, studying her as if she were a problem he was deciding how to solve. "I'm here for you, Miss Whitmore. You've been causing quite a stir." "And a doer." Maxwell pushed to the front, practically growling. "If you touch her, I swear." "Maxwell," Victor interrupted calmly, "you of all people know violence isn't my preferred method." Then he raised the gun a few inches. "Unless necessary." Sienna positioned herself between Lauren and Victor, hand raised. "Victor, this is not part of the plan." "Oh, but it is," he smiled faintly. "You were told to destabilize them, not protect them. I'm afraid your sudden change of heart has put you on the wrong side." Sienna stiffened. "So you're here to kill me too?" Victor shrugged casually. "Only if you keep standing in my way." Lauren's knees buckled with another contraction. Elias grabbed her tightly. "We don't have time for this. She's in labor. She needs a hospital." Victor didn't look impressed. "A pity. But I'm afraid she has obligations tonight." Maxwell stepped forward, voice raw with fury. "Victor, she's my daughter. It's smiling. And the organization does not care," Victor replied. "She's the linchpin. Remove her, and Whitmore Holdings fractures. Remove her, and Haletech becomes irrelevant. Remove her." He tapped the gun lightly, "and tomorrow morning the market collapses exactly the way they want." Connor stared, horrified. "You're going to kill a pregnant woman to influence the stock market?" Victor smirked. "Please, don't oversimplify my work." A loud crash echoed behind them, the pursuing men getting closer. Victor lifted the gun, aiming directly at Lauren's heart. Elias stepped fully in front of her. "If you shoot her, you shoot me first." Victor actually chuckled. "I assumed as much." Sienna hissed, "Victor, she's innocent." "Innocence is irrelevant," he replied. "She holds power, and power frightens the wrong people." Connor braced himself. "We won't let you take her." Victor raised an eyebrow. You're barely standing, Connor. Your fear is louder than your breath." "And more does 9. Connor's face twisted, but he didn't move. Maxwell, however, stepped forward again, shoulders squared, jaw set. "To get to her, you go through me." Victor sighed. "Such theatrics. You think being her father gives you leverage?" "No," Maxwell said. "But this does." He reached into his coat. Victor tensed instantly, and Maxwell pulled out a small black device. Victor blinked once. "A panic beacon?" Maxwell smiled grimly. "Encrypted, satellite dedicated, direct line to federal authorities. To have her. Before things for watching and distract." Victor's expression shifted, not fear, but irritation. You won't call them. Maxwell pressed the button. A faint chirp echoed. Victor's jaw clenched for the first time. That was foolish. Maxwell raised the device. By the time your men reach us, this entire tunnel will be swarming with agents. Elias whispered, "We have a chance. Go." Connor and Elias tried to move Lauren forward. She screamed as another contraction ripped through her. Victor stepped forward quickly, gun lifting again. "I warned you, this ends now." He steadied his aim. A gunshot exploded from behind him. Victor froze. His gun dropped. He staggered. Lauren stared, horrified and breathless, as Victor collapsed to his knees. Behind him, standing in the red glow of the emergency light, was someone else. Someone who should not have been there. Someone who held the smoking gun. Lauren's eyes widened. It was Ethan. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Victor Hale, the man whose name sent CEOs into hiding, stared at the fresh wound blooming across his shoulder, shock flickering through his usually unreadable expression. His knees buckled, and he hit the metal steps with a heavy clang. Behind him, Ethan lowered the smoking gun with unsettling calm, as if he'd merely swatted a fly. Lauren felt her breath catch painfully in her throat. The contractions were nearly constant now, sharp and punishing, but the terror of seeing Ethan again numbed everything else. "Ethan," she whispered, voice trembling. "What have you done?" Ethan descended the steps with slow, deliberate elegance, stepping over Victor's body like he was nothing more than debris. "Relax, Lauren. I didn't kill him. I simply took him off the board." Sienna's face twisted in disbelief. "You shot Victor Hale." Ethan smirked. "Of course I did. He was in my way." "Everyone." Elias stepped in front of Lauren, positioning himself like a shield. "Drop the gun, Ethan." "Oh, come on," Ethan said lightly, twirling the weapon between his fingers. "After everything I've orchestrated tonight, do you really think I'm just going to surrender?" Connor's voice cracked. Half fury, half terror. "You framed us. You trapped us. You nearly destroyed her pregnancy, and now you think you can just walk out of here?" Ethan tilted his head, glancing at Lauren like she was a puzzle he'd grown tired of. "Walk out?" he echoed. "Connor, I'm not walking out, I'm ascending." Maxwell spat. "You'll spend the rest of your life in prison." Ethan laughed, a sound that echoed unnervingly through the steel tunnel. "Maxwell, you still think the law touches people like me? The people I work for own senators, agencies, companies. Do you really think a panic beacon is enough to stop them?" Maxwell didn't flinch. "It's not for them. It's for you." For the first time, Ethan's smile faltered. Lauren's breath hitched. She clutched her stomach as another contraction stabbed through her. "Elias, I can't keep going." Elias grabbed her hands, grounding her. "Just hold on, Lauren. We're almost out. Almost." But Ethan took a step closer, raising the gun toward her belly. "That," he said softly, "is exactly why I need you to come with me. Right now." Maxwell roared, "Get away from her." Ethan didn't even look at him. "This baby is worth more than all your buildings combined, Maxwell. A Whitmore heir? A guaranteed destabilizer? They'll pay any price to control it." Lauren felt cold dread pool inside her. "You're insane," she whispered. "No," Ethan said simply. "I'm a strategist, and you, Lauren, are the final move. If you esma." Sienna lunged forward, but Ethan pointed the gun at her instead. "Aha, you betrayed me already tonight. Don't try it again." Behind Ethan, Victor groaned weakly, alive, but dazed. Ethan didn't bother looking back. "What's going to happen now," he said calmly, "is very simple. Lauren is coming with me. The rest of you stay here and wait for the feds," Maxwell summoned. "Meanwhile, my associates will intercept them before they ever reach the tunnel. Everyone wins." End quote. "No one wins," Elias growled. "If she dies in your hands, she needs a doctor." Ethan scoffed. "Hospitals are liabilities. She'll be safer with—" A new sound cut him off. A low rumble. Growing louder. Ethan's brow furrowed. "What is—" Maxwell's eyes widened. "That's not federal agents." Connor's face drained of color. That's a truck." A massive engine roared from above them, right above the loading dock. The concrete ceiling shook. Dust rained down. Ethan spun around just as metal gave way. A delivery truck, huge, rusted, unstoppable, came crashing through the loading bay wall, tearing through concrete like paper. Lauren screamed. Everyone dove aside. Ethan turned too slowly. The truck slammed into him, hurling him across the tunnel like a rag doll. He hit the ground with a sickening thud. Lauren gasped, eyes wide, breath frozen. As the driver's door creaked open, a figure stepped out, silhouetted by headlights. And when the dust cleared, Lauren recognized the man who had just saved her life. The dust settled slowly, drifting through the cracked concrete air like ash after an explosion. Lauren blinked against the grit, her vision swimming from pain and shock. Another contraction tore through her, but for a moment she didn't feel it, not when her eyes landed on the man stepping out of the demolished truck. Daniel Mercer. Her college friend. Her almost something. The man she had once imagined a future with, long before Connor, before the chaos, before her world twisted inside out. "Daniel," she whispered, barely able to breathe. He jumped down from the truck, boots hitting the concrete with a heavy thud. He scanned the scene in one quick, decisive sweep, Elias shielding Lauren, Maxwell braced for attack, Sienna frozen, Connor pale, Ethan crumpled against the wall. Then his eyes met Lauren's. A different kind of shock flickered there. Fear, relief, and something deeper. Something raw. "Lauren," he said, voice thick, "you're hurt." "She's in labor," Elias yelled. "Early and fast, we need to get her out." Daniel rushed to them, kneeling beside Lauren. "I'm here. I've got you." His hands were steady, warm, grounding. Connor bristled beside him. "How the hell did you even find us?" Daniel didn't waste time. "Your father's company still uses old emergency channels. When the distress beacon pinged, I was nearby." His gaze sharpened. "And I knew she'd be the target." Maxwell frowned. "How do you know any of this, Daniel?" He hesitated only a second. "Because I used to work cyber intelligence for a private security contractor. And the men hunting Lauren? They've been on our radar for years." Lauren exhaled shakily. "You came for me." Daniel looked at her, and for a moment the chaos faded. "I always would." But reality snapped back fast. A groan echoed across the tunnel. "Ethan." He was alive, bloodied, dazed, but not broken. His fingers twitched, scraping the floor, reaching for the gun that had skidded near him. Elias saw it first. "He's waking up," Sienna cursed. "We need to move." Daniel stood in a fluid motion, scooping Lauren into his arms like she weighed nothing. She cried out, her body too tender, the contractions too strong, but she clung to him instinctively. "We're getting you to safety," Daniel said. "No more running, no more hiding." But Ethan's voice slithered through the tunnel, ragged yet chilling. "Lauren, you're not leaving here." Daniel didn't look back. "Ignore him." Ethan coughed, blood splattering the concrete. "She belongs to us, she belongs to the organization. Her baby belongs to." Maxwell snapped. "Not one more word." Ethan lifted his head, eyes wild, unfocused. "You think you've won? You think a truck solves anything? You have no idea how deep this goes. There are people above me. Above Victor. Above everything." Connor stepped toward him, furious. "Shut up, Ethan." Ethan laughed, quiet, broken, terrifying. "This was never about Hailtech. It was never about me. It was always about her." Lauren buried her face in Daniel's shoulder, shaking. "Please, Daniel, get us out." He tightened his hold on her. "I will." But then, a distant noise, a metallic clang, footsteps, multiple, fast. Elias spun toward the tunnel. "More of them?" Daniel's jaw clenched. "We won't outrun a full team." Maxwell squared his shoulders. "Then we make our stand here." "No," Daniel said. "You protect the perimeter. I'll get Lauren out." Connor stepped forward. "I'm going with you." For once, Daniel didn't argue. He simply nodded sharply. "Then stay close." Another contraction hit so hard, Lauren screamed. Daniel held her through it, whispering, "I've got you. I've got you." The footsteps grew louder, closer. Sienna pointed. "They're almost here." Daniel turned toward the stairwell, leading to the loading dock. "Everyone move." But before they could take a single step, a loudspeaker crackled to life overhead. A distorted voice echoed through the tunnel. "Don't bother running. The building is surrounded." Lauren's blood ran cold. Daniel froze mid-step. And the voice added, "Surrender the heiress now, or everyone dies." For a split second, the entire tunnel froze. The metallic echo of the loudspeaker still vibrated through the concrete, a chilling ultimatum hanging in the air. "Surrender the heiress, or everyone dies." Lauren trembled violently in Daniel's arms, another searing contraction ripping through her. She couldn't run, couldn't hide, couldn't fight. Her body was too far gone. Her vision blurred as her knees weakened. I'm not going with them, she gasped. Not alive. Daniel tightened his grip, voice trembling with determination. No one is taking you, Lauren, not while I'm breathing. Maxwell stepped forward, eyes blazing. They want a Whitmore? They can face one. He moved toward the center of the tunnel alone, pulling a small device from his coat. A simple switch, a final contingency. Lauren recognized it instantly. Dad, no, she whispered. It's the building failsafe, Daniel said under his breath. Emergency lockdown explosives. He'll trap the entrance. Connor stared in horror. He'll trap himself. Bus. Maxwell didn't look back. I've lived long enough to know exactly what a father should die for. No, Lauren cried out, voice breaking. Dad, we still need you. I still need you. He turned to her for one brief, devastating moment. His stern mask cracked just slightly. A softness flickered in his eyes she hadn't seen in years. You survived tonight, he said. That's all I care about. But before he could flip the switch, a gunshot rang out, sharp and sudden. Everyone flinched. Maxwell blinked, confused, then looked down at his own chest. Not hit. The shot hadn't been for him. Behind them, Ethan, bloody, staggering, barely alive, had fired at the loudspeaker control panel overhead, shattering it in a spray of sparks. The voice cut off instantly. The threat silenced. Ethan swayed, collapsing back to the floor as the gun slipped from his hand. His breathing was raspy, wet. He was dying, and even he knew it. Lauren stared at him, stunned. Why? Why help us now? Ethan coughed, blood staining his lips. Because I didn't want them to have you, or your father, or the baby. I thought I was in control. His voice cracked. I wasn't. He slumped sideways. Still, silent, dead. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Daniel lifted Lauren again. We're going. Now. The remaining guards, shaken but alive, helped clear the path forward. They climbed the stairs, reached the loading dock, and spilled into the alley behind the safe house, just as the first sirens wailed in the distance. Federal agents, real ones, flooded the street. Uniforms, badges, flashing lights. Safe. Lauren's body finally gave up. Her vision blurred. Her knees buckled. Daniel caught her before she fell, lowering her gently to the ground. Lauren? Hey, stay with me. I can't, she whispered. The baby's coming. Maxwell shouted for paramedics. Connor stood frozen, shaking, guilt etched across every line of his face. Lauren, I'm so sorry. For everything. I'll sign whatever you need. I'll disappear. Just, please be okay. Lauren didn't respond. Daniel took her hand. His voice was steady, but his eyes shone with fear. You're going to meet your baby today. And when you do, everything is going to be different. Tears spilled down Lauren's cheeks. Don't leave, she whispered. Daniel squeezed her hand. Never again. But Devrielessa's. Paramedics rushed in. Lights blurred. Voices echoed. And then everything faded. To else. Thank you for watching and 17. Day forever to do for watching and 17 as a day for watching. Do for watching and 17 as a do for watching. Hours later, sunlight filtered into the hospital room, soft, warm, forgiving. Lauren lay propped up with blankets, exhausted but alive. In her arms, a tiny newborn slept against her chest, breathing softly, peacefully. A girl. Perfect. Maxwell stood at her bedside, eyes misty as he gently brushed the baby's cheek. She has your mother's smile, he whispered. Connor entered, hands behind his back, head lowered. He placed signed divorce papers on the table without a word, then stepped out quietly. No drama, no more battles, just closure. Daniel stepped forward last, flowers in hand, hope trembling in his voice. She's beautiful, he said. Lauren smiled, real, soft, the first in a long time. She is. Daniel hesitated. So, what now? Lauren looked down at her daughter, then up at the man who had risked everything to save her. Now. She finally knew the answer. She took Daniel's hand. We start over. He exhaled shakily, eyes warming. Together? Lauren nodded. Together. Outside the window, Manhattan glowed with morning light, no longer terrifying, but new, possible, hers again. The nightmare was over. Justice was served. Her child was safe. Her future reclaimed. And for the first time in years, Lauren felt whole. So, our story comes to a close. And if you're still here with me at this moment, it means something inside this journey touched your heart in its own quiet way. Maybe it reminded you of your own strength. Maybe it whispered a truth you needed to hear. Or maybe, like Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And tonight, your thoughts chose courage. Lauren's story isn't just drama, it's a reminder that even in the darkest moments, we still have the power to rise. She was betrayed, hunted, heartbroken, yet she kept moving. That's stoicism in real life. Not hiding from pain, but walking through it with dignity. Epictetus said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And Lauren learned exactly that she couldn't control the chaos, but she could control who she became because of it. Maybe that's the lesson for all of us. We don't choose the storms, but we choose what we become after them. If this story gave you strength, comfort, or even a moment of reflection, then don't leave quietly. Hit like, share this with someone who needs hope, and subscribe so you don't miss the next journey we take together. We're here, healing, learning, and rising together.